It means that this bank was existing today. Tomorrow is gone. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode with the Treasury Girl. In the last episode, we learned on the basic definition of asset and liabilities management, and today I'll be telling you a story about a bank that went under in 24 hours. What does that mean? It means that this bank was existing today. Tomorrow is gone. Exactly. And why am I telling you this story? It's just to let you see how important it is for an organization to manage its liquidity well, to ensure that there are no mismatches between its assets and liability. Let's get right into it. There was this bank where all tech startups put their investor money. What does that mean? So when these tech startups get funding from their investors, they deposit it with this bank. Now this bank has a huge deposit from tech startups, right? These billions of dollars were invested, which is actually very normal, right? When you have excess cash, you try to look for ways to make money, to make more money out of it, right? So that's what this bank did. Right? They bought government bonds and mortgage-backed securities, which is not bad in itself. You know why? The risk on these securities are very low, which is good, right? But it is affected by interest rate changes and the fact that they are always long term. It happened that these tech startups were not getting enough funding like before. So they needed to run operations, of course. So they started withdrawing the money they already have in their accounts just to run their daily activities, right? Like what any other person can do. But the thing is that this bank had already invested a large chunk of this money in long-term investments. So it was not going to be easy for them to quickly convert it to cash, right? Now, something else happened. There was inflation at that time. The government, or more like the Federal Reserve, increased interest rates. So when the interest rates went up, it also affected the yield of securities in the market. The new securities in the market are at a higher interest yield. Let's assume that they bought the security at 2%. And now what the market is saying for that same security, by assumption, that same amount and tenor is slightly higher, say 6%, meaning that the securities that is now on their books is now of lesser value compared to what the market is saying. I don't know if that makes sense. Do you remember I said that these startups were not really getting funding as much, so they started collecting their money, they started withdrawing their money from the bank. It now got to a point where the bank could not meet up with these outflows anymore because most of their cash has been tied up in long-term investment. Now they need cash, so they had to look for a way to get back the cash that they had already tied up in investments. But now the market has moved. Who is going to buy a security that is at a 2% yield when they could get that same security at 6% in the market? This bank is really in distress. They don't mind selling in discount or even taking the losses that may arise from this sale. So they took the losses anyways because they really needed the money. They now announced to the public after they had lost money from selling some of their securities just to get cash, with the hope that investors were going to come to invest in the bank, right? But the market reacted the other way. They panicked. They just assumed, oh my God, is this bank going under? I know that it's now a digital world, right? It's very easy to pass information across. And when anybody hears a bank is closing down, the first thing that will come to your mind is, oh my God, my money, I need to take it out. So a lot of people started taking out their money. You know, these days you don't have to go to the bank to collect your money. So you just have to go to your applications or use USSD as the case may be. Right? Most of them place withdrawals. And before you know it, the bank was out of cash. Getting to this point, the government had to step in and they had to close the bank. Now, what's the moral lesson for this story? It is actually very important to match the maturities of your assets and liabilities and also have liquid assets or near liquid assets that could easily be converted to cash should in case the need arise. How does this apply to your personal finances? Aside your savings, also have emergency funds, right? It's just you being able to plan well so that you don't get to a point when you don't have money to spend, both as an individual and as an organization. I really hope you've learned from this. Alright, that's the end of my story. See you in my next video. Bye.